And welcome to the David Tomsic Show, fighting tyranny one day at a time. Well, is cutting thousands of federal jobs the key to saving America? Is it the key to balancing the federal budget? Or will these cuts do more harm than good? Elon Musk is cutting away at the federal bureaucracy. Now, that houses our programs that help America, that protect America: nuclear energy, health, environment, finance, workers' protection, to name just a few. So what really is the key here? Is this bad or good? Many people cheer because, again, many people have been led to believe that the whole government is corrupt. And I say the whole government, this is what I mean, the whole government. People don't think in terms of rational thought. What they think of is, I don't like them, they're taking my money, they're cheating me, and let's get rid of them all. But that's not really how it works. And that's not really how it is. So how do we address this? Well, I'm going to read you some articles here that will give you some insight, I hope. Now, first of all, I have an article here from Asha Bagichi, USA Today. The title, More Than One Way to Slice a Workforce, How Trump's Cuts Differ from Clinton's. Okay, so you're talking Clinton. Bill Clinton did do cuts back in the 1990s. Now read what it says here. In the wake of mass layoffs under President Donald Trump's new administration, some have compared the government shrinking initiative to the 1990s effort under President Bill Clinton, when about 400,000 jobs were cut from the federal government. Now this sounds familiar. Elon Musk talked about this and did a little video, I believe. The article goes on to say, but Elaine Kamerchak, who led the Clinton administration review as assistant to the president, told USA Today that effort was very different from Trump's. While Trump has focused on making the federal government cost less, Clinton's national performance review was also focused on making it work better, she said. Okay, and it goes on to say, Trump's officials are really highly at risk for things blowing up in their faces. Who would have thought that? Whether it's a terrorist attack because they don't have enough spies at the CIA, or it's a terrible foodborne illness because they don't have enough people at the CDC. There's a lot of places where things can blow up, Kamarchek said. Paul Light, a professor emeritus at New York University who has written books on federal government reform, likened Trump's federal government downsizing efforts so far to a random shooting. No, I have some insight on this. I know somebody who works for the federal government for the VA. And what they want them to do in the big scheme is go back to work at an office. But see, there is no offices for these people. See, somehow Donald Trump and Elon Musk think working from home is some kind of evil plan to not have anybody do anything. That might be the case in some places. But the cost to the company is advantageous to not have a building. And if you're a company and you can't monitor the people that are working for you, that's shame on you. But in this case, they want them to go somewhere. All these people, not just here. Of course, this is insanity, and this shows the lack of understanding of Elon Musk, of the federal government, and how things really work. People look at him as a genius, and he's so special, and he understands it all. He knows. You don't understand, David. He knows everything. Well, he doesn't. He knows very little when it comes to the reality of what's happening in basically Smallville here in small towns and cities across the country. But I digress. Now, the article continues. However, mass firings of workers are likely to make only a small dent in the overall budget. I could have told you that. Assuming a 10% reduction in the federal workforce of 2.4 million people. Now, let's think about this. A workforce for the United States federal government, 330 million people in this country. It's only 2.4 million people. And I've said this in other videos. It hasn't really gone up in numbers since the 60s. So anybody tells you different, they're a liar. Okay, the government would save $25 billion annually. Economists at Deutsche Bank calculated that would be less than 1% of federal spending, which amounted to $6.7 trillion last year. So why? Why? You see, this is a feel-good project for all the haters out there. And true, there are haters. For so long, they've heard the narrative of these evil federal employees. And they've heard the narrative of these wasted programs that help save lives, programs that help keep nuclear facilities safe, programs that help keep disease from spreading in our country. Oh, those programs, right. we're worried about these people making, what are they really making, some of them? I know some federal employees, and they're not making a lot of money. Now, some are. The point is, why attack such a small percentage? Because it's easy target. These people won't fight back. They've been victimized and demonized for so long, people are glad to see them go. Unless you're one of them. Oh, unless your family's one of them. Oh, unless you need their services. Oh. Okay, so there's another article. And this one is from Ducon Hyatt from Investopedia. How mass layoffs of federal employees could affect the economy. Wow, could it? In a good way? Let's see. Now, this article goes a step farther than the last article. How federal layoffs could affect the economy. Firing large numbers of federal workers also carries some risks to the economy. Should the Trump administration achieve its goal of reducing the federal workforce by 75%, the unemployment rate would skyrocket in places where federal government is a major employer. In Washington, D.C., for example, the unemployment rate would spike to 9.6% from its current level of 2.8%. An analysis by the think tank the Urban Institute found in January. Democrats, union representatives, and some economists warn that many of the employees dismissed by last week's order were doing important work. What's the odds of that? I think it's pretty good. The layoffs reportedly included personnel at the Federal Aviation Administration working on air traffic safety. Do you want to fly right now? Trump Air. Staff at the Food and Drug Administration who worked on baby formula safety, employees at the National Institute of Health overseeing grants for outside research on cancer and other diseases, workers at the Department of Agriculture labs who are working on controlling the ongoing bird flu epidemic that is ravaging poultry flocks across the country, and workers at the IRS who are in the midst of tax season. Now, if this doesn't sound like idiots' work, nothing should. You need these people. I'm sorry. You need professionals. This is a big country. If you think that it takes one person to run an office, if you think it takes one person to run a lab, there's something wrong. If you haven't been out in the world, which a lot of right-wing people haven't, they live in the bubble. Now, if you haven't worked anywhere, I have, that had actual laboratories in it, that had research in it, that was designed to make sure that the product they were presenting is safe and efficient and effective, then you're missing the boat. If you think it's great for the federal government to cut cancer research, there's something wrong. I fought cancer. I know 3 or 4 people that have cancer. I'd rather those people be there, Elon. But no, you can afford great cancer care if you get it. You can afford it because you're a billionaire. But I digress. Now, this article was from NPR, as I mentioned. Stephen Fowler. DOGE releases data about federal contract savings. It doesn't add up. Now, before I did this video, I went through some information that was leaked out by Musk and Trump. And I'll tell you that a lot of the numbers they put out there are suspect. A lot of folks are starting to see this. A lot of errors, clerical errors. There's a lot of errors from this group. Now, of course, being the smartest person in the world and all his geniuses he has working with him, can't basically provide a report that's accurate. Right off the bat, we should all fear. I digress there. But so this particular article picks up on that. Now, this article, I'm going to read really the last paragraph of it because I think we already went through everything else. We know that there's a lot of shady things going on here. We know that there's a lot of errors. We know that they've made up numbers. We know that they've been wrong on numbers. We know that they said they spent billions of dollars on condoms to Gaza. We now know that was a lie, although many right-wing people still believe that's true. It's a lie. We know there's a lot of BS in this whole process. But in this particular article, this paragraph, what does it matter? There's no doubt that these young people, and what we're talking about is Musk's 6 geniuses that he has working on this project. Now, let me go back and say that these are the guys that couldn't understand the code for the IRS and were telling people that people were receiving Social Security payments in 1850. Now, right off the bat, when I worked at companies and something didn't make sense, you looked into it before you reported it as a finding. You made sure it was correct. That's common sense. So you can be a genius. That doesn't make you smart. That doesn't make you worth hiring. In this case, these people are clueless because they don't know anything about the federal government. Okay, I feel better. There's no doubt these young people Musk has been working for are very intelligent coders, genius coders, but they're limited. Retired senior contract officer Christopher Burns said, referring to DOGE team members who have apparently been identifying cuts across government agencies. They don't understand the processes. They don't understand how things work. They don't understand contracts, and they don't understand grants, Myron said. 6 other current and former federal contracting officers who spoke with NPR on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation say that the DOGE savings page is misleading the public with the data it includes. Jessica Rydell, a senior fellow at the center-right Manhattan Institute who studies ways to cut extraneous government spending, says DOGE is doing more harm than good to the government in how it cuts costs and shared them with the public. A smarter way to reform contracting would actually cost money in the short term, Rydell said, because it requires audits. It requires analysis, building new systems, building new controls rather than just going through with a chainsaw and trying to cut contracts almost randomly. So here's my conclusion to this. Friends, this is a show. Now, what is the outcome? I believe that Donald Trump, in his wisdom, is trying to make sure there's no government agencies left. He will create what he needs to create in that bureaucracy that report directly to him, his loyalists. This is what you will get in the end. Now, what he's hoping there is then that everything will go through him. Nothing will be done without his approval, without his understanding or permission. Now, knowing who he is, this can go south pretty quick, because he doesn't have an understanding of any of these things. He doesn't have an understanding of how the federal government truly works. He doesn't understand because he doesn't care. The reason these federal agencies and programs exist is to serve America. Some might not be needed. Some might be overvalued. There might be corruption in some, but as the article says, that it takes a process. Now, unlike Donald Trump's business model where you just file bankruptcy, here in the real world, we do audits, we build systems, we investigate, we interview. We do all those things needed to make sure we understand what we're doing and the ripple effects of it when it's all said and done. We're not doing that here. We're going literally, as Elon Musk's chainsaw picture demonstrates, cutting through everything with a chainsaw. And guess what? Lives are fractured. People are destroyed. People lose their jobs. For what? For what savings? Apparently very little. Again, I say this. Didn't we just go through this? Why don't we go to those big programs? You know, the ones, the Defense Department. Right. They haven't passed an audit in years. I've said this before. You talk about savings, hundreds of billions, probably trillions of dollars. But no, we won't go to any of those sacred cows. We won't go anywhere where he has some affiliation. We're going to go to the low-hanging fruit, to the people that can't defend themselves. That's what a manly man does, right? Goes to people that can't defend themselves and plays a bully. He doesn't want to bully Vladimir Putin. He doesn't want to bully Xi Jinping of China. He doesn't want to bully anybody that can fight back. He only wants to bully people that will bow down to him. So sadly, my answer to this is going to hurt America. These ridiculous cuts just across the board, just throwing people out of offices, firing people, locking people out, making up numbers, isn't going to work. It will hurt America and is already hurting America. I just hope something really serious doesn't come along, like a terrorist attack, like an outbreak of another disease, like a war, because he won't have anybody to fight for you. It's all the time I have. God bless you. I hope you like, subscribe, and share to this video. Please make sure you join our revolution against tyranny. And I appreciate those of you who are subscribed. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time right here on the David Tomsic Show.